it going? I'm Jake Brownstein from Eggy. I'm here with Ryan from Storm Sound, and this is the exploration of my rig. So I guess we'll start guitar. Cool, exciting place to start. So last night I actually debuted this guitar in Toronto, and it's actually the birthplace of both of these guitars. So they're both Frank Brothers guitars, and they're based out of there. Got to connect with them a few years ago, but I've been following their page since 2016. And when it came time to find like that guitar of my dreams, that seemed to be the only option for me. And so we'll start with this one. So this is a newer model that they have. It's the Sonar, and feels really good. It's got a contoured back, so kind of got that Strat sort of feel, but did some really cool things with it. Probably everyone can notice it's a new guitar, but we had it relicked, and the reason for that is the neck is sanded just so it's got like a really comfortable sort of worn in feel, and then once you do that to a neck, you kind of got to go all out, which is nice because just before we started filming I actually smacked the headstock on my mic stand, and I don't have to feel bad about that. But it's cool. It's got coil splits, so I could switch between single coil and humbucker. And this is a new switch to me. It's a blower switch. So basically when I activate it, it bypasses the pickup selector and it bypasses the volume and tone and just goes straight to bridge, dimed out. So whatever anything is set, it's kind of the flash pass to just straight lead tone. Yeah, and then this guitar, the one that kind of started it all with them, equally loved, is their ultralight model, and it's a mahogany body with the Koa top, and it's kind of, I feel very lucky because they do the relic thing really great, but also they're really great with the bound guitar, hollow body, and the three switches are slightly different on this guitar. So these are the coil splits, but then we also have a mud switch. So for this guitar, I have volume instead of volume tone, and it's cool because the mud switch rolls off a little bit of tone instead of having a knob for that. So that's fun. Ebony fretboard and headstock and tuners. So and gotta mention this, the honorable mention. This is a strap by beadwork by Jenny. She does amazing work. My wife, but at the time girlfriend, we were together for 5 years. This was my anniversary from her, and we got our pug on the back. So Theo has always got my back, and it's just it's a nice reminder, no matter where I am, of my love for Katie and her love for me, and it's just an honor to be able to rock it. And I guess the other thing I'll say about the strap, the guitars, I think that anything that was made with love and anything that's made with passion, I think that energy carries over into the instrument. So to be able to have had that relationship with Frank Brothers, my love for Katie, the amazing magic that Jenny puts into her stuff, I think that it just carries a really soulful thing that translates into what I'm fortunate in doing, is playing music and doing it with the people I love.
Awesome. Could you demonstrate the different pickup sounds?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're just on the neck. I kind of have it by default on humbuckers. Switch to a single coil. I should mention is that these are their proprietary pickups that I was fortunate enough to kind of be the tester for them. I had originally gotten this guitar installed with some other pickups and was looking for something a little bit different, and timing aligned perfectly. They were trying out some new pickups that they wanted to kind of have be the standard for their instruments, and really fell in love with it in the ultralight, so I got it put here, and think it does a great job with the humbucking, but also the single coil sound is great. Here's the middle position. So the difference, this guitar, since it's volume, usually when I'm in the middle, I'll kind of roll off a little bit of the volume on the neck, but since this is volume tone, it's going to be a cool thing for me to kind of figure out how I can achieve some of those sounds in the middle position, but sounds great. And then here is bridge pickup. To really show the blower switch, so we'll kind of be neck pickup sort of thing. So just fast action. If you need to get somewhere with very little time, you can get there. You can get there fast. That's the 0 to 60 switch. Yeah, as far as the amp world goes, I'm sure people notice that trying to find my groove with the whole amp thing. Right now I'm playing out of a deluxe, but last tour I was rocking the Twin, and I also have a really great amp by Dan Nisi in Connecticut, DGN Guitars, and yeah, I think with the amps they all have a really cool voice and a unique voice, and just like anything, keep the ideas flowing, keep the creativity going. I think sometimes it's nice to just switch things up and see where that all goes. Here's the pedal board, here's the spaceship. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of mainstays here for me. But how do you want to go about it? You want to
do signal chain order?
Cool. So tuner, who would have thought? Start with the tuner, which actually I love this tuner. I will speak highly of the tuner forever. People don't really spend a lot of time talking about tuners, but I will. So this is the Peterson strobe tuner. I actually kind of found it through playing pedal steel, because each string on the pedal steel and every pedal on it, they're not all tuned to 440. So in order for it all to sound cohesive with one another, you have to tune everything separately. And so this pedal actually has what they call a sweetener. So it detects what string, so there's a open tuning for just the strings, and then there's the pedal tuning, and it knows what you're doing, and so it kind of automatically sets it to whether it's 440 or 435.5 or whatever. And it actually has the same thing with guitar, which I remember there was a video going around on YouTube of James Taylor with his acoustic. He wouldn't tune every string to 440. It's kind of more nuanced, and I noticed it especially in the studio where I would have it tuned, but when I'd play a chord, I always found myself like adjusting something, and so I was like, oh man, I should try that out. And so this kind of came into my life, and I started using it with guitar, and I think it does a really good job. It's effective of making everything sound the way that my ear hears it. So shout out to tuner pedals. They don't get enough love, but arguably, if you're not in tune, who wants to hear you play anyways? And then so next we go to the wah pedal. That's the Waco by Jam Pedals, and it's a really cool wah. It's got like it's pretty basic, but it's got a cool knob so you can adjust how much of the filter is being opened. So kind of at this sort of setting, it's a bit of a tighter sound. And if you go all the way here, it's very open, and it could create some, I mean, I like it all, but usually the tighter sort of sound works better on chords, which I think is usually where I hang on the wah most. And then it actually routes underneath the board to the Trutron, which is a really, really great pedal. And that's by Mike Beagle, so the original creator of the Mutron. And they put the Trutron together kind of as a way to reboot the company. And it's essentially the same circuitry, with kind of just a couple of additions. They added just like a mix knob between the low pass and the high pass filter. I don't know much about circuitry. I know that I like the way that the pedal sounds, and that it's made a big impact on my playing. And another shout out to Katie, because at the time that that pedal was coming out, she was kind enough to facilitate that happening for me, and it was another gift of love for some birthday or anniversary or something. So it's very cool. Feels like now that some time has passed, it's kind of a piece of history. It's not being made anymore, and yeah, it's a very special pedal to me. And then from
can you demonstrate?
Yeah, of course. So. So here's kind of the classic sort of envelope sound. A lot of people have like the envelope a lot more open, but I like a little bit of fight to kind of burst those bubbles. So if you're pick lightly, especially if I'm not on the bridge, but kind of like, so it really picks up to the pick attack. And yeah, I like the sound of living kind of in that, just you're inside the bubble rather than the one popping it. And then something that I really like to do is the down switch, which has now been a key component to a newer song of ours, Atomic Age. But also you can kind of... I think when it's set to up, it's kind of more like the classic Grateful Dead Jerry tone, but when it's down, it's kind of got the classic JGB tone. So you could choose which mode you want to live in. And then from the Trutron, we actually go into the H90, which is a big component to my whole board. And it's really cool because for a multi-effect pedal, you can have anything from a phaser to a reverb to an overdrive, and having it live only on one place in your board kind of limits you to where it's positioned. But with the H90, it's got pre and post, so I can route it to be before all of the overdrives, for maybe something like a vibe sound or a phaser or an octave, and I could set it to be after all of the overdrives for something more like a reverb or a delay. And so that's a really cool option that's really allowed for a lot of cool exploration. People probably would recognize that listen to the band. This is where I have kind of like the flute Northern Lights sound. Which actually, I was doing it a little bit last night, but it's actually pretty cool with the Trutron. You can, with a little whammy action, the flute kind of kicks in later on, and it's kind of got like a cool sustained sort of feedback sort of sound. This is a sound I use all the time. I call it my little feet sound. Use that in One Stop Shop a lot. And then let's see. I use it in Remind Me, but I also use it for a lot of jamming. It's cool. It's got the high octave delay as well as the kind of regular octave, or just the regular delay path. And you know, there's some weird stuff in here. I got like ring mods and. Vice or Virtue, they're calling that like my industrial tone, which I'll take it. I like that. Yeah, and then moving from there, kind of my main overdrive pedal is the King of Tone. And, well, I guess technically it goes from the compressor, which is also Analog Man 4-knob compressor. And then I have this Analog Man modded tube screamer, which I honestly don't hit that much, but sometimes it's nice to take things right over the edge. I'm sure it sounds great. It's just sometimes I don't think to hit it, maybe because I have it placed in an awkward position and it's not as accessible in the moment. But the King of Tone, it's been a saving grace for me. I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable or shy in my lead tone for a bit. Kind of was feeling like it was hard for me to live in that space, and some of it was because I think that it was like sculpting and shaping the sound of my guitar and my amp too much, that it felt like it wasn't additive. It was kind of just shifting things over too much, and I love a really subtle climb where it all still sounds like the same guitar and the same amp, but you're just kind of stacking some new ideas and sounds on it. So the King of Tone has been great for me. So it's on the left side, it's a little bit more of a light overdrive with a boost. So that's been fun. That's some rock and roll for me. And yeah, from there, I've got the Tonal Recall, which is my delay sound by Chase Bliss. And as you can see, I'm a big fan of Chase Bliss, all things Chase Bliss. They've been huge supporters of what we do, and it's really just shaped a lot of the possibilities of the musical landscapes I can create. So I like it because it's kind of a classic delay sound, but it also has a little bit of like modulation. Kind of creates like a little bit of like a lo-fi sort of warbliness that I think is cool to have. And then I go to the blooper, which is what I use for looping, and that's always a good time to do a little bit of looping. And so it's cool. You could go back in your steps if you want to. Here, we'll crank that up. Something people probably have heard me do on Smile is there's different mods that you can do to the looping sound. So I like doing like a filter sweep. So. So when I feel like playing DJ, that's something I get to do. And something I've been doing more recently is having the looper kind of act as a long delay, so it'll have like a natural decay off the ideas. So I can take something like this. That's always cool. And you know, I have the blooper going into the mood pedal, which a lot of people, I'm gonna set it straight, a lot of people think that I've only recently done the mood stuff. I think that I've used it a lot more aggressively recently, but the mood is one of my longest loves with the guitar pedal. So the one that kind of a lot of people have come to address in the recordings, which is a hell of a great time for me. But I've been doing it like this for quite some time. Got the dry signal in it as well, so it can kind of tuck behind things a lot. And what I just started doing was taking that sound that I had made and then adding the mix knob all the way up to kind of create the one of my favorite sounds with the mood is this one. looper is because I think that unless you're doing like a classic style looping, sometimes it's a hard thing to transition out of. So I like the mood to go after the blooper, so I can kind of do like a so it's been really effective. And then the Therme, I really only use it for 2 sounds, but it has so much more potential than what I give it credit for. But I really like it for just kind of the tucked back delay sound. But I've been opening up a lot of shows with kind of the combination of I'll do the reverb from the H90. Or the reverse from the H90, the reverb from the Mood. And then I'll do the sound on the Therme behind it all. And if it would be good for my career, I'd probably live there for much longer than I feel like I get the opportunity to. Maybe one of these days, when I end up making music for yoga or something like that. And then I've got this Supermoon pedal that I use for reverb. Kind of do like a combination of this pedal and then any amp reverb. And then this is kind of just like a preamp pedal from Believable Audio. And yeah, I think that's a lot of what I've got going on. What do you think?
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Jake.
Man. Hey, thank you so much, dude.